So thank you, James, for joining this webinar today. This webinar is the first one in the series of WeBIMar. So I'm calling it WeBIMar, which is basically a webinar focused on BIM and AEC industry with targets on construction technology. So we basically bring new topics every month and then bring a new host to talk about those topics. So this month, we chose that 3D scanning would be the topic of discussion. And this is all happening under our community, which is called Beyond BIM. This is a community that we have started for a lot of the BIM guys, as well as technologists in construction industry who are very excited about new techs coming out, or they know how to implement these technology. We want to have a community built for that. And it's all powered by my company called ArcLind. So again, thank you, James, for joining this call. I would love if you can introduce yourself to the audience, and then we would go from onward from there.
Thank you, Ani. Great to be here. So my name is James Mosimann. I'm with Reality Capture Network. As Ani mentioned, I'm a tech enthusiast, you could say, for reality capture technology in the AEC space. So a little bit about my background. I spent 7 years working for a software development company, ClearEdge 3D, on scan to BIM applications. Now I'm with Reality Capture Network, trying to elevate the whole industry to better utilizing, whatever kind of reality capture technology might best suit their needs. So finding the best types of laser scanners, finding the best types of software programs that fit various applications for anything AEC, or even maybe a little bit larger. But again, AEC and BIM, that's kind of the bread and butter for reality capture tools, which is what I'm really excited to dive into today.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's something that I also want to talk about, like our first interaction that we had on the jobs that we were working. So you came as a salesperson, that you were bringing a device that you wanted to introduce. And there is a notion about salespeople, as we know in industry, right? That people think differently about them. So I want to like clear their air out and get the elephant out of the room first of all. And I want to hear from your story or your side that how do you feel that what the importance of the salesperson is in a company or to bring a new technology?
That is a great question. And I love this because you're right. I'm in sales. That's how we first met. I've always kind of been in sales. And when people hear sales, the first thing that comes to mind for most people is you get your stereotypical, used car salesman is what everyone says, where it's, it immediately puts a guard up, and it makes you cautious against a person who might be out to take advantage of you in some ways. And there are people out there who like that, who give a bad reputation to sales as a whole. But I love working in sales. I love working in sales for a couple of reasons. One, it fits my personality well. I love working with and serving, people. But secondly, it's really engineering in a sense. And I went to school starting in engineering. I got my degree in mathematics, and the focus, my whole mind is to try and problem solve. Like many people who are in AEC, in engineering. And sales is sort of a problem solving with people and with businesses, and when done in the right way, salespeople are always, people want to, and in some ways, not to the fault of the customer. It's you have your guard up because the salesperson's incentivized to close business. That's their goal. But a proper incentive from a salesperson is, the incentive is to really understand the needs of the customer and to solve the best needs of that customer. And that might mean not closing a sale. That might mean referring somebody to another area, another solution that best suits what their needs are. And I love sales because sales is working with people. It really requires at least some level of penetration into the software technology, into the hardware technology, understanding what your customers are doing, getting boots on the ground. I mean, again, that's where you and I met, was on one of your job sites, and kind of figuring out what goals you wanted to accomplish with your team, some of your scanning applications, how you wanted to try and leverage the technology to make it more profitable. and
Yeah.
getting into those scenarios to say, these are the kind of tools that we can offer, the solutions we can offer, how we can help them, how we can support and serve you. Keeping
Hmm.
that in mind is the proper goal of a good salesperson. And then as an effect, by doing things well, sales come, and
Yeah.
by just trying to find, being passionate about the tools themselves, trying to bring people to those and helping, it's really, it's a great, it's again, it's like engineering, but
Hmm.
for my mind, which loves problem solving and engineering, and I also
Yeah.
love serving and working with people, it's a really nice blend of those.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm in sales, but you could say
Okay.
I'm proud of it. I really love it and really enjoy working with
That's great.
everyone getting into those spaces.
And I mean, I have seen you, right? Like our interaction when you were at one of our job site, you were not like trying to sell anything, but you were like demonstrating what best that tool has. And if there were some shortcomings, you were out and open about it, that yeah, there were some points that might not be as good, you know? So, and I also feel like a great salesperson is somebody who has the technical knowledge as well as they can support after sales. Like a lot of time happens, like salesperson just go and sell thing, and then you never hear from them, right? Like if the device is broken, then you never hear from that guy. But a true salesperson would be like, he stays with you throughout the service. They're available for you anytime you need help or training. Because especially, let's talk about 3D scanning. This is a device which is very complex. The process at the beginning is very complex to understand. And if somebody new is getting into it, you have to hold their hand to guide it. It's not like a push of a
Yep.
button. We haven't reached to the
Nope.
age yet where you can just push a button and everything will be done by itself, right? There is so many science behind it. And we want to deep dive into that, right? In the questions that coming in a little bit, we want to dive into those intricacies of it. So my second question to you on that note is about 3D scanning. So you have been involved. I've seen you like 6 or 8 years within this industry with using 3D scanning. What are some of the advancement you have seen in past couple of these years? Like talking about 3D scanning specifically.
So let me address that question as well as some of what you just said a moment ago in terms of finding the best solution and then how the advances are getting us to new places.
Yeah.
When you and I met, yes, I was like forthcoming about shortcomings that we have in areas and other ways, and that's again problem solving and engineering, like, and it's
Mm.
what's necessary. You have to take a holistic view. No good engineer is going to isolate the issue without a context of the broader
Mm.
situation and scenario, because you have to understand how the individual piece that you are operating on fits into the engine or the system as a whole that you want to
Mhm.
fix. And sales is the same way. Maybe it's something different, or laser scanning, in this sense is the same way, because it's
Yeah.
something that has to both in the business and in the technical portion of how you operate, what the technical needs are of the equipment you need. It's something that has to integrate into your system, something that has to flow, and it has to make you more productive. It has to meet your
Yeah.
needs. And if it doesn't, then it's not something that you
Yeah.
need. But the technology, fortunately, like, it's awesome that the technology is continuing just to grow more and
Mhm.
more, because so many of those technical needs as well as the business needs, are opening in larger areas. One of what we had talked about, when we met, and one of the areas I think the technology is advancing the most is as a result of like processing speeds. I think that's
Mm.
processing speeds and just data quality improvement. I mean, that might sound cliche, but they are opening up entirely new business opportunities and technical applications. So evaluating for,
Mhm.
real time sort of evaluations, those are
Yeah.
becoming possible where that was never even an option before. You're talking
Yeah.
about millions, billions of data points that you're capturing with these scanners, and then to stitch all the scans together, and then to get, your one cohesive point cloud into and analyze that
Mhm.
against, a model, if you
Yeah.
want to compare to a model, or if you want to check
Yeah.
your floor flatness, that's really taxing on computers. So getting
Mhm.
processing speeds improved both, in the software applications themselves as well as in the actual hardware and the computers that are actually
Mhm.
running these analyses, so that you can take a a scanner and you can go out on
Mm-hmm.
site, and for concrete, you can say, am I flat? Do I meet my spec?
Yeah.
You can do it. You can do
Yeah.
it in real
Do
time.
it in
And
in the
then
field. Yeah.
exactly. And then
Yeah.
you can fix things. You can fix issues before they become, big
Yeah.
expensive problems because
Yeah.
the technology is advancing to a step where the turnaround is fast. And I think that is one of the
Fast.
most exciting changes in the
Yeah.
technology is the turnaround time. When you're talking about big
Yeah.
files, you're talking about big projects that cover, I mean, that you're talking about so much data and so much information, and to
Mm-hmm.
digest that and to turn that into something that's readable and usable and then actionable is not often a simple process. The technology itself
Yeah.
is not simple. You mentioned, it's not just a click of a button and then you're done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes for some jobs you can have somebody just clicking a button and moving it, but a lot of that is
Mm-hmm.
because of the software I'm talking about that's made it so simple for users,
Yeah.
which is also a great tech advancement. User simplicity has improved, but being able to get that turnaround and get that
Yeah.
turnaround speed to something that's actionable, so that if you're on a concrete slab, if you have,
Yeah.
if you're trying to install or pre-pour, even pre-pour, if you wanted to
Mm-hmm.
check, all of your sleeve locations, or if you
You
wanted
can
to
do
have
that.
somebody go out there and capture the rebar and everything underneath so that, you've got an as built of what's inside the slab, you can do
Mm-hmm.
that. You can capture the data quickly, you can process data quickly, and you can start taking action on those in a
Yeah.
timeline that actually is more in line with typical construction. Because construction is it's fast.
It's
It's
fast.
fast.
Yep.
It's really fast. And I think that's typically been one of the issues that we see in the software and in the tech side of construction technology as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I work in construction technology, and
Yeah.
one thing you hear about all the time is how construction is lagging relative to other industries
Mm.
in its adoption of technology. And
Yeah.
it's true. It is true, but there's a lot of reasons behind that are not just dismissible. You can't
Yeah.
just say like, oh, construction, they just
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah.
they're just not up with the times. Like people are building amazing things today
Stuff.
that were
Yeah.
never possible.
Definitely.
They are
Yeah.
leveraging technology, in ways to create amazing structures, amazing buildings and things that were not possible long time before. But
Yeah.
the understanding what it's like to be out on the field and how a 3D model, even if you can get it maybe on an iPad or something,
Yeah.
like
Can help a
that's
lot. Yeah.
it can help. It
Yeah.
certainly can help. But to have something that requires, again, that simplicity, going back to simplicity versus complexity of what the
Mm-hmm.
users interact with,
Users
to have
could.
something where you can just transfer that maybe even into a PDF, something that
Yeah.
operates with what the field guys are doing and building, somebody who's laying out pipe for him to see, this is what I need to do, this
Mm-hmm.
is what you're asking, and not to have him learn a new software program or learn all these
Yeah.
tools, but taking the powerful complexity of what we're doing with technology, with laser scanners and point clouds, and being able to quickly, again, on the time side, but also in simplicity,
Mm-hmm.
relay that to the field teams so that we're not dismissing how they've been doing all their work to begin
Yeah.
with, because that's not a practical way to
And I
build
think,
on top of their work, but
yeah,
integrating.
exactly. And I think that is happening over the time, right? So the
Yeah.
technology is evolving. I remember my first experience when I started 3D scanning in maybe 2015 or so, where the software was like so complicated. I was using Faro scanner at that time, and then the icons were like minuscule. You have to have like a special handbook to understand what the symbol means, right? But over
Yeah.
the year, now we see that devices came out where a lot of this registration is already done. Like you have your field registration done, and when you bring it in your software, all you have to do is just process it, and your data is already ready. So that time has cut down quite a bit, right? As you're mentioning
Yep.
that the deliverable time is now coming to very close end where users can turn around those very quick, and we have experienced it. Like we have used this technology long enough so that we can understand. But that brings another question, and you were mentioning about that as well, that what are some of the challenges that we still have in 3D scanning? Like just talking about 3D scanning, what do you think that these things are still a major challenge?
So one, I think one of the big challenges is still I mean, you could say adoption. I was just talking about how standard construction workflows are the way that they are.
Mhm.
Integrating new technology, it's that's a challenge. So getting it into a standard construction workflow is something that's difficult to do that
Yeah.
I think is improving. The challenge I think is in many ways education for the the end users and also for the business owners, or the
Mhm.
project managers, to
To fully
show.
understand what they're getting out of it, right?
Yes, yes, and how to show again how that technology has evolved, how it's changing, how it can fit and streamline the into the field and really
Yeah.
improve their team. And I think in one of the difficulties that project managers, that superintendents, that anybody who has an investment in caring how the
Mhm.
technology performs, how it saves them time, how it's going to save them money. What
Mhm.
their one of their big issues is what's the right kind of tool. Like I don't even know
Yeah.
what the right kind of tool is
Yeah.
for this, and they almost have to take on another full-time job if they want to innovate and if they want to try and
Mhm.
adopt new technology, which
Yeah.
is almost impossible to do when
Yeah.
you're in the
Yeah.
construction side. You're asking a team who's doing things that are working, that have worked at least well enough, and they continue to win
Mhm.
jobs, and they're building their jobs, and they make mistakes and they fix the mistakes as they
Yeah.
go, and they hope that they come out profitable on the end. Okay, if you're taking somebody who's in the middle of this, going, and you're asking
Mhm.
them to stop and to sharpen the saw, which is important. That's an important
Yeah.
thing to do. But to get out of that is a hard thing. But then
Mhm.
when you're sharpening the saw becomes almost another full-time job of
Full-time job.
what tools are available? What can I like? What do I need? And just in
Mhm.
reality capture, you've got such a wide spectrum of tools, on
Yeah.
the fast data collection and relative low accuracy, you've got drones on one side that
Yeah.
can just capture
Yeah.
immense sets of data, or you've got your pretty
Exactly.
picture like fast, like Matterport sort of things,
Mhm.
and then you go through and you've got your slam scanners and your typical terrestrial scanners, and you get all the way to like maybe laser trackers, and you have
Yeah.
like a huge array of
Range. Yeah.
technology in between. It's like, what do I need? What do I
Mhm.
need? What are the tools that are going to give me what I need to perform my job faster with the accuracy that I need to make this
Mhm.
more profitable in the end, to make
Yeah.
things accurate, to fix mistakes, to help empower my team to get things done without, as
Yeah.
many issues as they would have done before. And that understanding to get
Yeah.
to to get to the understanding of, here are all the tools that exist. Here are
Which
all
one
of
to
the pros
use?
and cons. What do I use? That's
Yeah.
hard. That's almost a full-time job in itself, just to learn the tools, or to have somebody with a huge amount of experience.
Yeah.
And that's why I now am part of the RCN team. That's our big goal, is to try and
Mhm.
facilitate some of that learning. So I think education is going to be
Yeah.
a huge part, so that people can have a source they can come and say, what do I need to know? What do I want?
Mhm.
Like, what do I need to know to be able to make, a confident and an
Yeah.
informed decision on
Yeah.
the tools that I want to give my team, and having them do their
Yeah.
own due diligence, of course, is important, but saying, what do I start looking at? In your,
Mhm.
you work concrete. What do you need to make sure your concrete slabs are
Slab
flat,
flat. Yeah.
or your elevators, are not going to intrude on the actual like
Yep.
elevator itself, that it's straight. It's like, how do I do that? What tools? Are there tools that can do that?
Mhm.
How do they work? What's
And then
possible?
And I feel like company invest a lot of money in like new technology without
Yeah,
understanding that they will get the benefit out of it or not. Rather, if they hire a consultant just to walk them through that, am I going in the right direction or not, would save them millions of dollars. Like this happens to
yeah,
even the company that I was working. We invested in one tool, and later down the line, we realized that, oh, this does not fit in our ecosystem. So now they're changing $500,000 investment to get some other new devices, which is like, if
Yes.
we would have done it right at the first time, you wouldn't be getting in this situation. So I feel like
Yep.
you're right on that. The biggest challenge is like the education of it, and then technology is evolving very quickly, right? So I think adoption is another big challenge that you have to continuously learning, and that's where I think companies like yours or mine can come in, where they can provide these education to them, right? So that's
Yep.
where I think it helps to build this network together, and not just selling it as a service, but also just becoming a community. And if you connect with those community, you can get educated as well. It's not always that you have to get a service or not, right? So this is important, that what you guys are doing. I think I really like what RCN does. Like they have these shows where you bring in all these people together and host this knowledge base where whoever comes there can understand where reality captures is today and what they need for their business. So it's very important, and I like that you guys are taking that initiative.
Yeah, I mean, you're
So
absolutely right. That's our big goal, is
yeah.
facilitate the connection between the people who have the technology and have the knowledge and information, or the services, the expertise to get the
Mhm.
work done correctly, and facilitate their connection with the
Yeah.
people who have the needs and who have
Yeah.
the issues themselves. Because, another one of the problems that we face, as you just referred to, you know, somebody making a $500,000 investment into the wrong
Yeah.
kind of technology. That's not just lost money. It is lost money, but that has
Mhm.
implications on the whole team that's testing
Yeah.
these tools. And
Yeah.
they say, this doesn't work. This kind
Yeah.
of technology doesn't work like we were told. We were sold
Mhm.
on this, and it's just not there
Yeah.
yet. So,
It's not there.
maybe it'll get there eventually. We'll see, but it's slow. It really hurts and hinders technology adoption as a whole when people get the wrong kind of tools, which happens often. And that's,
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
another thing we're trying to remedy, is
Yeah.
connecting the right kind of people with the other right kind of people who have problems, people who have
Mhm.
needs, and then
Yeah,
saying,
so
these
you're
are
you're
the
the bridge
experts.
between the problem and the solution. You kind of bridging that gap between those two, right?
That is the
Uh,
network that we're
Here,
aiming to create. Yep.
that's great. So another thing that just came in my mind, like when we were talking about this, for example, if somebody new trying to get into reality capture or specifically 3D scanning, as we're talking about today, what would be your suggestions on, like, let's say somebody just got it and they say that okay, this is we're getting into it. So what would be your suggestion for somebody new who would be getting into this?
Well, the first thing, I mean, I would, of course, recommend that they come and check out some of our events. We host annual
Hmm.
events, where we bring the best technology creators together, the best users of that technology,
Hmm.
show people who are from the expert level, really innovating, established success, pushing the boundaries with the tech. And then we include people who are kind of just getting off the ground,
Yeah.
and we our network, the reality capture network, is made up of people from the expert side on the tech, expert side on the business, people who are well established, people who are just getting into it. So anybody who wants to get into it, I encourage them to join, become a part of the network. That's
Yeah.
easy to do. One, through our website. We have an annual event in October. Archon
Hmm.
is the name, so I'd encourage you to come meet, shake hands with everyone else involved in that community.
Yeah.
We also have online committees. We're creating an
Hmm.
educational platform where a lot of this information will be available just, on our education platform, so you can learn about how the experts are doing this. And some of that already is available now. We have expert
Yeah.
panels and presentations from people who have attended our shows before. We have podcasts that has great
Yeah.
experts, again, business or tech side, and how they're leveraging innovative technology and using it to meet their specific needs. So that's
Yeah.
certainly the primary source that I would encourage people towards. Um, and then again, what we're looking to build, like with yourself, Ani, is trying to understand
Hmm.
what kind of work others are doing in areas. So what your project
Yeah.
requirements are, what your project needs are, because sometimes either you take some of the technology, you take some of the tools on, yourself and you want to learn, you want to start adopting them. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's best to do that hand in hand with a service
Yep.
provider, who's already
Yep.
done the work, who already has it, and who can help kind of get them established on their feet. So sometimes,
Definitely.
depending on what you're wanting to create, taking a scanner and turning that into a profitable, operation
Mm-hmm.
inside your own business is not just it's not just, like
Yeah.
pushing a button like it is scanning. It's more
Mm-hmm.
complex than that. And you have to build out a department with it, and you have to have teams that
Yep.
support each other and travelability. And now you're looking at new jobs to make sure that that team is staying busy, and that equipment, which is not cheap, is maintaining
Mm-hmm.
a profitable margin. And that takes time to build into that. You have
Yep.
high upfront costs with it, you have high personnel, and like we're saying, high skill and technical knowledge to learn that. And it's all very, very possible to do.
Yep.
Education is a big thing. Walking hand in hand with a group, who can help educate you on utilization of the tool, making sure you have the right tool, then how to utilize it, what kind of jobs and projects you can pursue to make that
Yep.
more tangible, either externally or internally, and then selling that externally or internally to your projects. If you're
Yep.
GC and
Yep.
you sell that to your project, make sure that you're working closely and hand in hand with, the
Mm-hmm.
project executive who needs certain outcomes to happen a certain way. So trying to work to work with your team, or find ways to sell your service, sell your product externally too.
Yep. Definitely. I think we are getting close to our time right now. So I would open for the audience. I think we have a couple people. So if you guys have question, feel free to type in the comments, and I will bring it as we do our discussion. I will bring those questions out. And even if you're not able to ask question now, feel free to reach out us on LinkedIn's. James' profile is there on this event, so you can connect with him and learn a little bit more about RCN. And also, I'm there on LinkedIn. If you guys need any help or any suggestion, feel free to DM me. I'm pretty responsive on LinkedIn, and I go and ask, like, help people out on what suggestion are. One last question, James, though, and then this might be a little bit controversial, but which is the best scanner right now in the market?
That's a
I, a
that's
lot,
kind of a
a
silly
lot,
question, because
a lot of people have that argument, right? Like mine is best, mine is best.
there's no that's like scanners are like cars in a way. It's
Mm,
I wish that I could just answer that like directly, but you can't. And again, it comes down
yeah,
to, what's the best scanner for my needs? What do you
yeah.
do you need a pickup truck, or are
Mm,
you just doing city driving, or do you have a long commute? It's like,
mhm,
and what do you want? You want to go fast? Do you want
mm.
do you just want to save gas? Like, what's important? What's the best car for you?
You're,
And
yep,
that there's such a broad array of tools. I
yep.
mean, that's why there's so many different manufacturers of this equipment right now,
Hmm.
because some are really high accuracy, and they're awesome instruments. Like, I've heard good things about the new Regal scanner recently. That's a
Hmm.
good one. The RTC is known and established for good
Yep.
fast terrestrial scanning. Faro,
Hmm.
had their flash scan technology, which I haven't tried myself, but I've heard that makes the process faster as
Yep.
well. And then you have lower accuracy, fast data collection. Nav is awesome. But even in that, it's like,
Hmm.
what's important? Are you trying to get accuracy, or do you want more of a photo walkthrough?
Yep.
There's a scanner, Jexcel. They have a Heron, which has
Hmm.
awesome imagery. And so their data quality might be a little lower than the VLX, but the imagery and the video walkthrough of it is awesome. And then you've got drones. Are you trying to capture a forest? That would be,
Yep.
I mean,
Or for
for many
drones, yeah.
applications, that's where you want a drone to fly overhead, rather than, certainly not a terrestrial scanner, unless you like to torture yourself for some reason, or you
Hmm.
really you really just want to
I
hike
think,
for
yeah.
backpack for a few days with your scanner. But
No, I think
um
I think you nailed that answer, and that's what I was kind of going after as well. Like a lot of people ask this question, were like, which is best? And you said it right, that it's not about the device, but what your needs are, right? And you should fit
yeah.
in that. I think Preetham from on the audience commented that best scanners varies on project to project basis. That is also right. Like depending on what your need is, then how this is how it goes, you know. So
Yeah.
that's great. And your analogy fits right because these scanners are almost expensive as a brand new car, you know,
As a
like
car, they're
some
like same price with cars too. Yeah, they're not cheap. They're not
they're
cheap.
not cheap,
So
right?
you certainly don't want to, you know, you don't want to buy a car only to find out that you got something with not enough horsepower to do
Yeah.
what you need it to do,
Yeah.
or that you're
Or
just
you end up
wasting.
buying a too expensive of a car, and now that just become a big burden on you, and you're not able to even get the returns out because
I know,
it
because
was
now
not
your
needed,
car
right?
is not profitable, and part of the reason it's not
Yeah.
profitable is because you bought a gas guzzler who, that has high insurance rates and and other things. It's like, okay, maybe you didn't need to buy the Ferrari. You could
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
gotten a Prius, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
would be
definitely,
you'd be
and
okay.
get the work done. Yeah, I got
Yeah,
one more
exactly.
question came in from the audience, and I think we got only a minute or so left. So quickly, if you can
Okay.
answer this, I'm not sure how you would answer that, but he's asking that how do you evaluate Trimble X9 scanner? Or maybe he's
Oh, the
asking your opinion
X9.
on X9, I guess.
I have not personally used the X9, so that's not something that I can give an opinion to. I can say that what I had seen in Trimble Field
X7
Link, yeah,
or
in
Field
the
Link software.
X7, and with
Yeah,
their Field Link software was very promising. That was not when I sold the technology, that was the one that I ran into frequently because it had,
yeah.
pretty quick field application
Yep,
usages. They could do a lot of registration and get
yep.
sort of actionable results in the field. So from everything I've seen or heard, like the
Hmm.
X7, it's a step up. I think the
I think
workflow
it
with
has
the
more
X7 is nice.
range. I
I think it
think
has more
X9
range
has
as
more
well.
range.
So
Yes, yeah.
so technically X9 versus X7, I don't know. I've seen good things on the X7, and I assume that the
Yeah.
X9 better range, a little faster probably
Yep.
than the
Yep.
X7, just improvements on what it was.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think that's where, like, if you guys want more answers on like any evaluating any scanner or any technology, I think that's where to connect with James and RC. And I think these guys bring in a lot of experts from the industry who can really talk about these tools and technology. You know, so James, we're right on the end of this discussion, and I appreciate you jumping onto the call today. And